150 new upcoming Quest 2 games in development. Yes, you heard me right. Yesterday at GDC, Meta announced Oculus Publishing. Yep, that's right. Oculus is not going anywhere, at least the name is sticking around. Oculus Publishing is the publishing arm of Meta Quest that works with developers to publish their games on the Quest platform. They do things like assist with funding and development, and they've worked with titles like Among Us VR, Bone Lab, and Blade and Sorcery. According to a brand new blog post that was put up yesterday, Oculus Publishing is working with developers on 150 active development titles. That is a lot of friggin' titles. That doesn't even include the ones that are being developed internally or first-party titles by the several amazing developers that Meta has purchased over the past couple of years. We don't even know what's coming from any of them, but I have a sneaking suspicion you'll find out later on this year. Just don't ask me why. But 150 in-development titles. That's a freaking lot of games. And that gets me really excited for what's upcoming for the Quest. You're seeing on screen right now, these are the titles that they've actually worked with to publish on the Quest platform. But that's not the only thing that they mentioned at GDC. And before we talk about some new upcoming games, they've actually mentioned that the Quest 2 is pretty untapped when it comes to power. Chris Pruitt, who is the director of content ecosystem, yesterday at GDC, he specifically said that he doesn't think that we're anywhere close to the upper bound for visual quality and game complexity on Quest 2, partially because we have some awesome tech that most of you aren't using yet. Probably talking about application Space Warp, which was released a little while ago and supposedly unlocks up to a 70% more processing power for the Quest 2 for developers. But the fact that they're publicly saying that there's untapped potential supports the idea that, as I've said in the past, the Quest 2 is not going anywhere. So between 150 upcoming active developed titles for the Quest platform and the fact that the Quest 2 supposedly has untapped potential, it's pretty exciting from GDC already. Now, there's also been some game announcements, including Pixel Ripped 1978. Pixel Ripped 1978 will be the third game in the Pixel Ripped series, this time partnering with Atari to actually have official Atari characters and the platform, and you're actually going to go inside of the Atari, which is incredible. Like, I cannot wait to play this game. It looks fantastic. And as someone that loves video game history, this is going to be a fantastic experience. Also, the developers of Moss, Polyarch, have announced that they're coming out with a multiplayer game. I'll put a link in the description because they're actually looking for people to sign up for a testing period. I think it's like a weekend of testing where you can actually try out their multiplayer game that they have coming. We don't really know a lot of information. There's been some images teasing it. Looks to be kind of the same universe actually as their Moss games, or at least something very similar, which makes me very excited because I love the Moss games, and having a competitive multiplayer game that uses everything that they've learned from the other games is going to be fantastic. That's not it. There's other games coming as well, but first off, if you've ever heard of Eye of the Temple, it's a fantastic game on Steam that allows you to physically walk around your environment, and you can do so in a small space actually, so you don't need a ton of room because of the way the game works. It's a fantastic game, a lot of fun to play. It reminds me a lot of being in an Indiana Jones movie. Well, the developer publicly previously had said that they weren't planning on bringing the game to the Quest platform. Well, now on Reddit, they've made a post stating, making a standalone Quest 2 version of my VR temple exploration adventure, is it worth it? Now, it's got 930 thumbs up at the time that I'm doing this recording. The developer mentioned in the post that they're not sure if it's worth it, gave some information about what they'd have to do, and then also said that because it would be a port, they're worried there wouldn't be enough interest, especially by those of us who do YouTube content to push the game out there. Well, I can tell you right now, I would 100% play this game and play it on the channel because this is something that I've really enjoyed in the past, but it would be amazing to be able to show this to people on the Quest 2, especially going places and doing that. And I think there's a massive audience of people that would really enjoy this game. So Eye of the Temple, if you use Reddit, go and comment on the post. I'll put a link to the post in the description. Make sure you hit the upvote button and then comment your support because I'd love to see this brought to the Quest platform. When it comes to other games coming, there's actually a few games in the coming soon section, and Breachers is one of them. Breachers comes April 13th. If you've watched many videos on this channel, you may have actually seen the Breachers video I did. I said it was like a Rainbow Six style game, and let me tell you, that has not changed. The trailer you're seeing looks fantastic. New locations, new maps, lots of new stuff going on. I absolutely cannot wait for this to come out because this is such a fun experience, and the fact that they've added even more to it is just mind-blowing. It releases on April 13th. It's actually available for pre-order right now, so I'll leave a link to that down in the description as well. More games added to the coming soon section, including a Medieval VR. This comes out next month as well. This looks fantastic. Medieval was a very interesting game for the flat version, and having it be in VR is a really cool stylistic looking experience. The game itself is so much fun, and I cannot wait to jump into VR and immerse myself in this world. Combat looks visceral and really cool as well. Also, Blockbuster VR. Now, not the video store, literally Block Space Buster VR you're seeing on screen right now. It's like a kaiju game where you play as a King Kong style character or a Godzilla style character and destroy cities. Now, it doesn't look ultra realistic necessarily, but it looks like it could be some interesting fun, throwing things at planes, destroying stuff. I think that I saw this a long time ago on a podcast I did with Gamertag VR. We talked about this back then. If it's the same game, I laughed at it and wasn't sure about it. It looks super simple, but I could see myself playing it as an anger thing, like just kind of get your frustration out and destroy some cities. I don't know, I may check it out, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Does art really matter to you in this instance, or would you be okay with just destroying buildings for the sake of destroying buildings? Another game added to the coming soon section is called A Night in the Attic. This looks like a pretty unique kind of board game kind of style third-person game. I'm not really sure how to describe it exactly, but it looks like it could be very interesting. It's like a puzzly type of game where you're in an attic, it looks like, and you've got to solve different puzzles and use the game board to solve different things and items around you to move the character along. It looks unique and kind of interesting. I love this style of game where it's like a third-person puzzler. It kind of reminds me of like a playing with toys in the attic, you know, going up and finding these old toys that you forgot about or your grandparents had or something. I don't know, but it looks interesting anyways. Now, I am really excited for this. Jedi Academy VR is getting a launch for its patrons. I think it's next week, and I loved the Jedi Knight games. I love Jedi Academy. Playing them in VR is fantastic, so I cannot wait to continue my playing of those Dark Forces series games with Jedi Academy VR. It's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. It comes out next week for the patrons, and I'll put a link to the Patreon in the channel if you're interested in supporting the developers. This is by Dr. Beef, and he does a fantastic job with all of what he does. It's usually super easy to install these. You do usually need to have developer mode enabled and all that stuff, but I'll put a link to the Patreon down below if you're interested in checking out what they have to offer for Jedi Academy when it launches next week. Well, that's pretty much it for news for the Quest 2 this week. There's some new games, 150 new titles that are supposedly in development, which is absolutely insane. What do you think, though? Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are about these 150 titles that are supposedly actively in development, and about the first-party titles. Like, where did they go? When are they coming? There's some games that I would love to see talked about, and I hope to heck we hear about them this year. But thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and happy questing.